can't show them. I like them.
Good evening and welcome to our Jackson Public Schools Board Meeting. I just have one piece of protocol I wanted to remind just the board to keep in mind that 20 minutes max on any topic, up to 10 minutes each time, 2 times, no 5:15. It's got to be 10:10 or less, but you can't go 5:15. And that was asked of me, that question. That's why I'm answering it. Okay, call to order. I want to thank you for attending. I know it was kind of a yucky night to get out if you didn't have to. I appreciate that. Now, a reminder that if you want to address the board, you need to fill out a form as soon as you arrive and submit it to Michelle Oxley at the board table. So if you want to do that, make sure that you get your form. Okay, let's start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Michelle, we have a roll call.
Ms. Hamilton? Present. Mrs. Brown? Mr. Dobies? Ms. Acton?
Here.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Here.
Ms. Hunt?
Here.
And Mrs. Fitzgerald?
Here. Okay, time to approve the agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Support? Thank you. Any deliberation? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And at this point, we'll go to our superintendent's report. Our superintendent is out of the state right now doing superintendent stuff. So, out of the city, yeah. Mrs. Julie Baker is going to take that position right now.
Welcome and thank you for being here tonight. We have some very special people in the audience tonight that are going to kick off the superintendent's report, and they are from Dibble Elementary. I want to welcome Principal Kewen and her students, her staff, and their wonderful parents forward for their presentation.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us this evening. My name is Marty Kewen, and I am a proud principal of Dibble Elementary School. I'd like my staff to stand up, please. I appreciate them. You forgot already since 4 o'clock. I appreciate them very much because they helped me this year. Mr. Beal challenged us this year with making sure that no child was invisible. He's making sure that we laugh, and he's making sure that we support each other. And I can't do what I do without them, so thank you. We will get to the darlings that came out tonight, the students and the parents that brought them. Thank you very much. But we're going to start with, you have an orange folder. I'm just going to highlight a couple things on there that at Dibble Elementary. This is our school improvement team that's created this along with our staff. And it's what we do day to day. It was used to be your school improvement on a page. Yeah, so you had all your goals and everything on one page. Well, obviously we have a few pages, it's okay. So attendance is number one. I mean, attendance, our kids can't, if they're not in school, we can't teach them. So our goal is to inspire these kids to want to be at school. That staff that just stood up, they're a huge reason why these kids come to school. They know that we're what these kids need sometimes. A hug, a smile, a thumbs up, something to that degree. This year, I already have 7 of our 14 classrooms that have had students in their classroom for 7 days of perfect attendance. Not 7 consecutive days, but 7 days where all those students have been in class. And so 7 out of 14, 50%, we've only had 16 days of school. I think that's pretty good. Raise your hand if you got popcorn yet. Have you guys got popcorn? Tastes good, doesn't it? Yeah. So that was one of the things that we are doing for attendance to get students to school. We're recognizing individual. I did perfect attendance a long time at Cascades and celebrated with the staff and the students. COVID kind of knocked me down a little bit. I'm back up. We're back up. We need to be in school, unless you're sick, and then you don't have to come to school, but we need to be in school. No excuses. We're trying to be really proactive with that communication. You know, with the parents, we're making them accountable. We're calling if the kids aren't at school, because if they're not at school, they're either sick or at the doctor. We need a doctor's note. What's the reason they're not at school? Not just because they're too tired and they want to sleep in.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we know that happens sometimes, it's okay. But we're trying to make the parents accountable too, making those phone calls. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes we make a phone call and then they show up half an hour later. So that's worth it in every which way. Every which way. If you flip it over, another thing that brings kids to school is the fun. Okay, they know ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, but the fun. Everybody else, I think in the district, calls it extravaganza. We call it a razzle dazzle days. So these are our PBIS. This is where we celebrate students that are making those positive choices day in and day out. So some of the things that we have in place is spot the dibble difference tickets. Every month we focus on a certain characteristic. For example, responsibility is this month. August was safety. We have empathy, flexible thinking, and we focus on those. Not that they can't do all the other characteristics every day, but those are the ones we focus on, and they get tickets. They get tickets from everybody in the building. It's not just their classroom teachers. They get tickets from everybody. Teachers' assistants, parapros, custodians, lunchroom. Everybody gives them tickets. We give drawings, and students win little prizes. And then 6 times a year, we do these big razzle dazzle days. Where is it fun? Yeah, we have a good time. We let loose, have a great time. And those are for making those positive choices. If students had a couple hiccups during that time before, it's about 6, 8 weeks, they might have a little bit time they have to reflect and think about what choices they made and how they can improve. So next time they're the full time in razzle dazzle. We have full-time social worker, Mrs. Nicowal. That is definitely helpful within our schools with all our social and emotional learning. Thank you. We have a place where students, if they need a little timeout, little break, they have a lot going on. They have a lot in their minds. So if they need a little break, they come to what we call the Dibble Den, and they do like a reflection sheet, a restorative sheet that says what happened, how did I feel when that happened, how did I make the other student feel, or teacher, staff member feel when that happened, and what am I going to do to fix it? What am I going to do to make it better next time? Dibble Den also is a place where they come to get their Spot the Dibble Difference tickets, prizes, because we want it to be a positive environment, not just this is where you go when you have a challenging day. We want it to be the whole thing, that it's a positive place. We do practice. Every area of our building has positive rules, but safe rules. The playground, the cafeteria, the hallways, the restrooms. How do you act when you're in the office? How we don't open the doors for anybody unless somebody asks you to, which we usually don't. You don't open the doors, and it's hard because they want to help, but if somebody's standing in that front door, we have to see who it is to let them in. So we practice those. We rotate the students around and remind them of those for all those areas out there. So it's needs to be redone every 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Needs to be redone often. We also, that's, homeschool connection. We call when they have a challenging day, but we also need to make sure that we're calling when they have a great day, because these are all great kids. Sometimes we just, like I said, have a little hiccup, and parents don't need to hear that every day, every time. Well, Johnny did this. Johnny did that. Hey, Johnny had a great day. They are excelling in Lexia. We need to do that also. So that homeschool connection is powerful, powerful. All right, on to the next one. Academics. I know on my robocalls, I'm sure everybody loves to hear me every Sunday night. Try to put those things in there too of, some of our assessments of the kids. We assess them a lot, but we assess them to figure out where are they at and where do we need to take them to that next level. Back when we started with the whole win time, what I need, what does that individual student need? And it can change week by week. So that's why there's so much assessing. And I know when you come to conferences, staff, informs you a lot about where the students are, their levels and everything, parent conferences. But we'd love, anytime, parents are always welcome to call us, ask us, see us. We'd love to talk about these kids. The kids know. The kids, we do Fondas and Pinnell. It's like a cold read. And we do that at the beginning, middle, and end. And then we do it in between to progress. Kids know what level they're on. They love it. They walk by. I moved up. I'm in level P. Woohoo! We celebrate all the time on that. LexiCore 5, the online reading program implementation intervention. They know what level they're on. They own their own learning. We're just here to help them go to the next step, but they own it. Classroom instruction, we have our small group, like I just said, the win time. Our teachers, our staff meet every week to do professional learning communities so that they talk about the data. They talk about, maybe we need to move students around in different groups. Maybe we need, all of my students failed this math concept. Let's teach it again. How did you teach it? What can we do to move on? So PLCs, again, homeschool connection is number one. Parent involvement. I have some PTO here tonight too. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. We've added a couple more members to that, our PTO, which is outstanding. Parents are always, I was telling Mr. White, I kind of miss that we're not going into the schools like we come here because we want to brag. When you walk in that door, we want to see how you feel when you walk in our door. Hopefully it's warm and inviting. And I know Mrs. Carter came last time and she came through the building and I took her to every little place. And she's probably like, I gotta go. She didn't. She's like, wow, I love this. We want to show it off. So parents are always, always welcome to come on in. And Diptacular is coming up. We're kind of strategic. We do it on count day. And that way students come to school because they get to do Diptacular. And that's that obstacle course that students get donations from families and friends and they run an obstacle course. And I think they had a really good time last year. I was in the dunk tank. It was fun. So that's happening again this year in October, but listed a few different things monthly. Our grade K5 are inviting parents in to do something special during the day also, besides our evening events. And the last page I just put in there was about the community because, JPS, where community comes together. These are some of our partnerships that we do. The new one this year that is pretty exciting is Grow Jackson. We have 7 or 8 beds ready to be planted with fall things. I don't know. I'm not a gardener, but I'm sure they're going to plant something in there for the fall that will grow. But that is our new thing, Grow Jackson. We have them in 2 classes this year, Mrs. Shermack's class and Mrs. Northrup's class. So that's exciting. We're also down there, our donations to our community, one of the biggest ones is the Jackson Animal Shelter, always teaching the kids about acts of kindness. That's it for me at the moment, unless you have any questions. I was told the mic's going to die, so I got to talk quick. All right, so tonight what we have are wonderful students is Playworks. At the beginning of the school year, Mrs. Baker said, we're going to do this initiative for our playground for recess time. And what it does is it supports conflict resolution on the playground. And it shows leadership skills and also academic success. So physical education teachers, principals, paraprofessionals, teacher assistants, we all went to a 1-day training, and I think we had a pretty good time. We had a good time because we played all these games. So just to turn it into your recess fun. So we're not just running around playing tag that's hurting students. We're running around having fun playing tag in an appropriate way. So I'm going to first bring up Nicole and Jordan and Henry and Rodney, and they are going to talk just a little bit about Playworks, some of their values.
My name is Nicole. Respect, a commitment and willingness to show consideration or appreciation.
My name is Rodney. Inclusion, encouraging participation from all children, staff members regardless of abilities and or past experiences.
My name is Henry. Healthy play, to occupy oneself in amusement, sport, or other recreation and immerse oneself in physically, emotionally, and socially positive behavior.
My name is Jordan. Healthy community, a group of people and or surrounding area to which one feels a positive emotional, physical, or social connection for various reasons.
I'll take your cards. So now Mr. Bristol has helped them play this game. So Zoe, you want to come up? Steven, you want to come up? I'll take your cards. You guys can get your games. This game is called Switch. Oh, Landon. Here's our line over here, guys. You gonna play, Mrs. Demand? So this is one of the games that we were taught at Playworks, and it's a lot of fun. It's called Switch. All right, hang on to that thought. So a couple things that we were taught. Lining students up next to a game like this instead of a straight line keeps everyone engaged, keeps them all in the game. Referee, that's your leadership skills. The referee that gets out decides Rochambeau is how to solve that conflict when two people get there at the same time. So do you guys like this game? And usually play it really loud with music and everything. You guys are all quiet in here, but it's a good time. One more time, Jordan. Or you and Rodney? One more time. And you notice no argument went to where she had to be a ref. No argument was done. It's awesome. So I want to thank my wonderful students and parents for bringing them out tonight. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much to all of you. That was a wonderful presentation. It's really exciting to see how Playworks is being embraced in the different schools. I've heard some really positive things. So thank you so much to parents and to students and to staff and to Mrs. Kewen for coming out tonight to do your presentation. Appreciate it.
My daughter ran over to tell me that she plays Switch at her school and likes it too.
Oh, really? Yay. See, now we're going to have common games and common language, and I love it. So next up, Assistant Superintendent Christianetti with the Believe the Hype report.
Sure. Good evening. And to any Dibble families or staff that wants to head home, this is a good time to run out when we're not looking. So just wanted to let you know that. I just wanted to cover a couple things. First of all, congratulations to one of our high school students is one of 3 2024 merit scholarships. There were only 3 in the county. So Akil Kanakam is one of the finalists. So we want to send a congratulations to him. It's very exciting news. Of course, this is homecoming weekend this weekend. So I did promise Monica that I would touch base about that. We do have homecoming food trucks, and there's an alumni game on Friday, and starting at 4, there will be food trucks and alumni games and things to do, and we'll be just doing a whole lot of alumni things on that afternoon. And then the parade is at 6 o'clock, so that will go down Michigan Ave, not Michigan Ave, but Wildwood. So catch that if you can. Hopefully we'll have nice weather. We have in the past. And then also there is the homecoming dance, which is Saturday night. So big weekend for our staff at Jackson High School, and we appreciate, and Jackson Pathways, all that they do there. Also, I was going to talk tonight a little bit about the Grow Jackson program. We actually partnered with Grow Jackson last year, which is Jacob and Asencio's group, and we put in one actual garden at Northeast, and it was so successful that we decided to again partner with Grow Jackson to be at all of our elementary schools. Starting the beginning of the year, it will be at 6 of our elementary schools. The only reason it is not at Sharp is, as you know, there is so much construction going on, and there just really wasn't an open space to do it that wouldn't make it just confusing. So it is meant for 3rd and 5th graders, except in our Montessori, we're able to include our 4th graders as well because of their blended classroom style. Each of the schools will have 6 to 8 beds that they will be practicing planting and actually growing food. And they'll be working with their STEAM and STEM teachers in that area to really progress throughout the year. They'll cultivate their own food. We've partnered with our own food service to make recipes out of the food that they cultivate. So this is a really intense year of learning, and Jacob's group will come in and teach these classes along with the STEM teacher or STEAM teacher and work together. So we're very excited about this hands-on learning and what we can do for the community, and any excess food that we do grow, we're going to be looking at providing to some of the area food banks. So there's a lot of things that we'll be doing with this, and also growing some other things that are just of interest that are a little bit different, so kids can learn about all sorts of planting and cultivating. So I did just want to elaborate on that. It is an exciting program, and the beds just were being built during the first week of school. So we're pretty excited about the progress of those.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have a couple. So thank you to Dibble. I know they're gone. Oh, some of you are still here. Thank you to the presentation. It was pretty awesome. And this might be good for you, Julie. When we have our district improvement meetings, it might be well, it would be nice to have like the way that the schools are doing their improvements. It'd be nice to kind of connect it to the broader. So just in the sense, and I'm not saying that you're not connected, but like saying to us, this is how we're connecting to, you know, what I mean, so be just beneficial in that way. I don't know if this is for Chris or for Jeff. A question for when he comes back. I'm curious to know how partnerships in the community are established, like with Grow Jackson. Do we have a policy about how those partnerships happen, or how do we connect those folks, or how do those happen?
So in my work in the community and the things that I belong to, lots of people will approach me about things that they want to do within the school community. And so we try a lot of different things, and we're interested in what anybody has to ask us to do or to partner with us. And then if it aligns with what works in our school day, or it's something that we can get with our curriculum, or something that will benefit our staff or students, we're always willing to listen to it. So, I mean, there's no real, we try not to say no to anybody if we can. We have lots of partnerships that we do with the health department, with Center for Family Health. We're doing some flu vaccination clinics coming up. We do a lot with DHHS. We do a lot of other work with many of our partners in the community who are interested in working with our students. What we just don't do is work with area businesses, because we are in a position where we're not promoting businesses. We're looking to work with nonprofit partners who can do things with our students.
So they have to be 501c3 established. That
Yes.
kind of one of the prerequisites.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of reach out to you.
Yeah, they can reach out to me, or sometimes I am also on the chamber board, so I hear a lot about nonprofit partnerships through there. Right now, we're going through our United Way campaign. So any I mean, usually people reach out to me to see what they have going on and anything that we can do to partner with our community members and what we consider wraparound services for our kids. We definitely are interested in doing at any time.
Thank you. And some of them are paid partnerships and some of them are not, or how does that
So
work?
sometimes it works that way. Like with the Grow Jackson, we originally he had a grant for one building. We thought it was a successful program. We were not able to secure a grant for all of it for the second time. So the school is put that into our general fund to be able to help supplement that, just because it was such an amazing result and a year-long program, and really had the excitement from our STEAM teachers just in general, and then the kids. So if we have to, we look at what that might cost. Generally speaking, we like to try to do it the first year with a grant to see if it's something that we can, it is viable, is something that we want to do. We try a lot of things sometimes and they don't always work out, or they do, but sometimes there isn't the dollars just to sustain it. So we really try to take a look at what it is and how much of an effect that it is making throughout the school community. So we're pretty, open to so many ideas. I mean, we are always willing to talk to anybody who's interested in partnering with us, as long as it makes sense and then it's going to benefit our students, then we want to do it.
Thank you.
At this point, it's time to look at the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Support. Okay. Any comments about the consent agenda? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we're on our citizens requesting to address the board. And tonight we have just one. Joni Orandello.
Thank you. I decided to address the board tonight because I saw the agenda was very light. And on nights that the agenda is light, I would hope that the board would use that freedom, that time, to address some things that the citizens have been asking to address. And the issue I'd like you guys to address, and I'm bringing to your attention again, probably that I've been bringing to your attention for a year and a half now, is board policy 5460 regarding graduation, and the fact on how it affects people with disabilities. So I'm going to do it in a little bit more organized fashion than I've done before. And I'm going to start out with addressing what a 504 plan does. A 504 plan is used to help students with disabilities that do not qualify for an IEP under one of the specific criteria. Those rights are protected under the Individuals with Disabilities Act. That is a federal law. That's why it's called a Section 504 plan. The board policy for graduation requirements states specifically that the board shall award a regular high school diploma to every student enrolled in this district who meets the requirements of graduation established by this board, the Michigan Department of Education, and as provided by state law. And then it continues further on that says special education students who properly complete the program specified in their IEP or in a personal curriculum, which a 504 plan would fall underneath that, and meet the requirements of a high school diploma and have received the recommendation of the IEPC, may participate in the graduation activities as recommended by the student's IEPC, which that is not defined in the board policies. And I have an issue with that. Reasonable accommodation shall be made to students with disabilities as defined under state or federal law to assist them in taking any required tests or assessments for graduation. When I read this paragraph, there is a lot missing in this paragraph for students with disabilities. It doesn't address Section 504 specifically, as someone who practices in this area of law and as someone who has been harmed by this. And then further on down at the last paragraph, it says commencement exercises will include only those students who have successfully completed requirements as certified by the high school principal. That's a lot of power to be given to one individual. No student who has completed the requirements for graduation shall be denied a diploma as a disciplinary measure, and a student may be denied participation in the ceremony of graduation. However, any personal conduct so warrants. Now I'd like to bring attention to a complaint I filed. This complaint was filed May 26, 2022. My daughter was 17 years old in her senior year. Today is September 19th, 2023. She turned 19 last week. This still impacts her to today, especially because of her disability. The background information is that she was transferred from Jackson Preparatory Early College on January 21st, 2022 as a senior to the SCMV school. I moved her due to her anxiety that made it very difficult for her to attend in-person school. And I emailed a complaint on Thursday, May 26, 2022. It says, after checking the board policy, I was informed that according to Jackson Public Schools board policy, students could not walk if they have not finished all of their classes prior to graduation. And I'm going to skip to some of the highlights. The findings. I do not find that my daughter was discriminated against based on her disability or her 504 plan. All students were subject to the board policy 5460, which states commencement exercises will include only those students who have successfully completed requirements as certified by the high school principal. No students were allowed to walk in the commencement ceremony unless they completed their coursework. Ms. Sullivan was unaware of the policy when she spoke to Ms. Orendello on March 27, 2022. However, according to Ms. Sullivan, after being advised of the correct board policy by Fred Parker, who is the principal, following her email to Ms. Orendello on March 27, 2022, she called Ms. Orendello sometime between March 27th and April 3rd to correct the misinformation and advise her that her daughter would need to complete all coursework in order to graduate. So going a little further down, both Ms. Orendello and the virtual school agree that Autumn's 504 should have been updated when Autumn was enrolled. Both parties agreed that this was not done. The accommodations in the 504 plan on file at SCMV, which Ms. Orendello says is not the most recent 504, were geared towards her previous in-person learning environment at JPEC and feel would have been applicable in the virtual learning environment at SCMV. However, there is evidence that the accommodations that Ms. Orendello requested or Autumn needed were provided on January 31st, 2022, when Ms. Orendello requested that Autumn not be required to attend each week in the in-person at SCMV. She was excused from this requirement. She was also allowed additional time to complete courses as needed when she fell behind. So she was allowed additional time to complete her courses, but she wasn't allowed that additional time to be able to walk in graduation. According to her 504 plan, she was allowed additional time to complete her courses. She finished her courses at the end of June. But according to your board policy, she was not allowed to walk in her graduation ceremony. And your board has yet to address that board policy. I've been attending for the past year and a half, and you guys have not addressed it. I feel you guys are in a rush to go home and meet your minimum requirements, and I'm not happy about that.
Okay, this time we have a discussion item. Number 8, lacrosse, and Marcus will present.
Good evening. So recently, JPS was approached from other Jackson County districts who are looking to form a cooperative lacrosse team with JPS as the primary district. Currently, there's a total of 5 districts that have expressed interest in the program. Costs will be shared equally amongst all participating members. So we're in the process of applying to MHSAA for this inclusion of this team, for which we'll be coming back next month asking for an approval, a resolution approving this. So this time there's no action required. I do have our athletic director, Greg Marsh, here in case there's any questions tonight.
Good evening. I'm Greg Marsh, the Director of Athletics for Jackson Public Schools. It's a pleasure to be here. I thought that maybe I could give you a brief, I hope, background of how we've reached this point of wanting to apply for a cooperative agreement with MHSAA. Starting about last spring, there were a number of students who were getting together and working out, practicing, learning lacrosse, a number of high school students. And this was spearheaded by some Jackson High School students, as well as some students from Parma Western. And then over time, more and more high school students would learn about this and continued to work out with lacrosse practices. Up until this time, there was really no organized lacrosse in Jackson that I was aware of, even within the county. And so as the number of students continued to grow, we initially had one meeting with the athletic directors of the other 4 schools that are involved. In addition to Jackson High School, we had Parma Western, we had Northwest, we had Lumen Christi, and we had Michigan Center High Schools, all with students participating in this. And we talked as athletic directors about how this might affect our current programs and what this would look like, as a potential cooperative program, and realizing that this is something that would most likely end up being a self-funded program. In addition to that, we discussed the mechanisms for how the finances might work and put them under some sort of a governing body so that we can keep an eye on fundraising activities and things like that that we would expect of all of our programs. We had a second meeting where we discussed further, understanding that they continued to work out in practice, understanding that eventually they would like to compete. And there has to be a way for that to happen. And so that is why we would like to continue with this application for the cooperative agreement so that they do have a way to, as a team, compete in lacrosse matches. Of course, when we talk about cooperative agreements, a lot of people think about our hockey program is a similar situation where you don't have enough students from one school to create and form their own school team, so we create these cooperative agreements. Currently, our high school is part of the primary school in both the boys and girls swim and dive programs, and we are also the primary school in the gymnastics co-op that we have currently. So with this, that's sort of the brief history now in the application for forming a cooperative agreement through MHSAA. It's more than just filling in a few blanks and so on. We have to document how we've worked and talked through a lot of the different things that need to be considered, and these are the things that I and the other athletic directors have addressed. Things from how things will be paid for, from uniforms and facilities, where the team will play, which school would colors and mascots they would use, how gate receipts are handled, and different things like that. These are the important things that need to be worked out beforehand before continuing with this application. And this is something that we have done amongst the athletic directors. Looking forward, this is something that would need the school board approval, not just from our school board as a primary school, but from all of the school boards from the cooperative agreement who are making this application. So that's a brief summary. I don't know if we have any questions or if there's anything else that I can address.
Wanda?
Can you describe what the cooperative agreements are, like the relationship currently with our gymnastics and our swim team? Like, what does that look like?
Right. So with our swim team, which is currently going on right now, the girls swim team and swim and dive team, we have schools from or students from Parma Western and Lumen Christi who are participating on both our boys and girls swim and dive teams. That is for similar reasons, right? They might not be schools that all together can form the one team. Any of the costs that are involved are shared equally amongst the school with respect to, the more of what we call the core costs. When we look at lacrosse, for example, we're projecting what those core costs might be and what that impact might be that we need to share. And the core costs are really just including the transportation and officials. Those costs are what we're looking at. The facilities use and the equipment that is needed, those things are the facilities use. That's taken care of with facilities. The equipment would be the result of fundraising, donations, and things like that.
Is there a specific term, or once this decision is made, is this for
once the decision is made, this is for a 2-year period, and every 2 years we renew the agreement, which is something that in fact we just did last spring with our boys and girls swim dive teams.
You renew it with who?
Pardon me?
You renew it with who? Renewal?
Excuse me?
No, is
it
that
was
through,
this-
like the board has to do that, or is that like
No,
MHHS? Or?
that one, once the agreement is in place, renewal is a little less formal than this.
Who are you renewing it with?
That's with MHSAA.
Okay.
Right.
Do you have any idea how much the startup cost would be, like with uniforms and paying refs and things?
We do have the leadership. I failed to mention that after the athletic directors had a discussion and we had questions for the leadership of the people who were helping the kids, the high school students get started, and we did have a meeting with them as well. And during that time, we were told about what their budget might look like, the startup costs for uniforms and things like that, the donations that would possibly be coming in, some grants that they applied for. Altogether, some of the startup costs with some of the equipment like goals and uniforms and say I have practice jerseys on here, and even things such as equipment bags. Also, we want to make sure that this program is open to to all students, and so they included in some of their startup costs, excuse me, sticks, helmets, equipment that a player might require, but we didn't want to make it. They do not want to make it. We do not want to make it cost prohibitive. So that was included. Just looking at those costs, the startup costs, the budget estimates it around $10,000. That would be a ballpark just for startup. And then, of course, the continuing costs would be something that they would fundraise for and continue to seek funding from elsewhere.
And this is high school?
This
Or-
is high school.
Okay.
High school.
Okay.
And I'll add that the reason that Jackson High School, very important reason that Jackson High School is taking the primary on this is because of our being in the Southeastern Conference. We have a built-in lacrosse schedule. One of the other things that's required of MHSAA is that our league discusses and votes on it. And then which we already have, we did this at our August. I gave our league athletic directors the heads up, if you will. And everybody was in agreement and we voted on it unanimously. And then I'll just get a letter from the commissioner that will be included in our application.
So we already have a lacrosse team?
Pardon
Yeah.
me?
We already have a lacrosse team?
We do not. We
What
do
do you-
not.
I thought you just said we have a lacrosse team that your district talked about it already, or what was that?
We have this group of students who are participating informally.
Okay.
Okay, this is their getting together,
That makes
and we see how this is trending. We need to lead them to competition and
That makes sense.
and under the governing body of MHSAA.
Thank you. A couple more questions for you.
Sure.
So I don't play sports, never have. So, so that's why I ask questions like I
Okay.
do. When it comes to the other programs, when we're comparing them, so the lacrosse program that you're wanting to, to create
Mm-hmm.
based on the other things that we already do, like football and whatever.
Right.
Are there any costs that would be different that the lacrosse would need? Any costs that would be different that they would need than the established ones?
Costs
Costs.
beyond what is.
So like, I don't know if the football team, like their jerseys, I don't know if the students, fundraise for all their jerseys. And if they don't fundraise for their jerseys, will we be expected to kind of spend the same for the lacrosse? Like, is there any
Right. I think I
differences?
understand your question. And that's the difference between one of our Jackson High School teams where we have it in our general fund and we have budgeted for it, where we are starting as a self-funded activity.
So
Okay.
you
So
wouldn't
that's
be
why.
expecting any funding from the school?
Pardon me?
You wouldn't be expecting any funding from
The
the school?
only thing that we may expect is the shared cost of those core costs, like I mentioned, the officials and transportation.
And that's that 10,000 that you're referring to?
No, that's separate from that.
Ballpark was
Because right, that's a
Ballpark was
ballpark, and
that?
those would be recurring, right? Every year we would need to pay for officials and transportation.
So question for you on that, is that that cost for that's similar to the cost that we would pay for any other program? Would it be?
It would be similar to the cost that we pay for our cooperative hockey team that we contribute because we're not the primary school. And we receive from other schools for our swim and for our gymnastics.
Thank you. Another question for you. The qualifications for this team, like, people who want to be on this team. I know you said you're working with a group already who's been doing it. How would other students who might want to become a
There
part?
would, just like any other team that we have, just like we do with our other co-ops, not necessarily a cut sport, if you will. Hockey might be. I'm not really too
I don't know what a
familiar
cut
with that.
sport is.
So that's where you have a limited roster, and you might have more students that try out for to make that roster. But at the same time, if it as an MHSAA co-op sport, we would be under the same rules where physicals are required and we have our consent forms and all of that. Also with Jackson Public Schools as the primary, we would also make sure that our coaches are vetted and that we have all of the safeguards that we currently have in place with all our sports.
So I'm hearing that other students will be welcome,
Absolutely.
and they would have to go the same guidelines that they do for other sports.
Exactly.
Thank you.
That's it.
Shalonda?
Currently, do you have the estimated number of students that are interested in lacrosse?
Sure. Right now, and this was a learning experience for not only for me but for some of the other athletic directors. When we say how many students do you need on a lacrosse team? And right now, the last number they've been keeping a roster, sharing a roster with us, so we're familiar with the students. I believe the last count was at 25 students participating right now.
Is that just as Jackson High?
No,
or amongst
that's
all
the
of
entire group. The breakdown I had written, I think we have 5 Jackson High School students who are participating right now.
How big is a
Thank you.
lacrosse
Anyone
team?
else?
How big is a lacrosse team?
Right around 22 to 25 is my understanding would be a good roster.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My understanding is that the deadline to apply through MHSA is on or around October 15th, which is a few days before our next meeting.
That's correct. And I have been in contact with MHSAA
Okay.
about not only about that, but some of the other things within the co-op. There are certain enrollment numbers. When you add the schools together and have enrollment, we would be marginally over. But since lacrosse is an emerging sport, that's something that they consider.
Sure. And as you indicate, I think you guys have already done a lot of work. The athletic directors have worked out the details. It sounds like necessary for the application amongst all the participating schools. I love that Jackson High School is taking the lead on this, and that there was unanimous support from those in the league. That there's already 25 people interested. As it starts to compete, it's probably going to increase, and hopefully there's more JPS students getting interested as well.
Exactly. And this would include the addition, if the numbers will support it, I mean, we can add junior varsity as well.
Yeah. I spoke to Mr. Beal today, having talked to a couple of the advocates that are here in the crowd, including my neighbor and city council member Will Forgrave, who I think is a volunteer coach for the league. So they kind of tipped me off about the October 15th deadline. I think given the amount of work that has already gone into this and the support for it, and the fact that you're going to be doing a lot of the fundraising to support the startup costs along the goals, uniforms, jerseys, sticks, bags, helmets, all the stuff that you laid out there. When I talked about this with Mr. Beal, he thought it would be appropriate to ask the board to just move forward with starting the lacrosse team, authorizing, kind of giving you the opportunity to move forward with signaling from the board so that you can continue to work with the rest of the athletic directors. So having said all that, I would put before this body a motion to move forward to apply for the cooperative agreement so that you have the ability to go back to the other athletic directors and make that application.
Support.
All in favor?
We're supposed to have some
Aye.
discussion.
Oh, discussion. Okay, Keisha, you have
Yeah.
used more than your time,
I ha-
so
no, I have
please
some discussion.
keep it.
I have discussion and I'm gonna have it.
Keep it short.
I'm gonna have it.
Keep it short.
Like I said, I'm gonna have it.
Keep it short.
So I will not be voting in favor of this. I do feel like the district could spend its money more wisely. I know that we're not having a large amount of money that we're putting towards this, but and I also feel like I would love more information. I would have probably supported it maybe next month if I had been able to have some time to research it a little bit more and just kind of study more, maybe even come out and talk to you about it. But tonight I will not be supporting it. I do feel like the district at this point, in my opinion, could spend the money more wisely. The little bit that we will be giving you.
Derek? Discussion? Oh, no. Any more discussion?
I do have a question. Was so knowing the deadline, which is October 15th, had you already spoken to MHHS?
I have,
And
yes.
were they in agreement with?
Yes, they actually
an
said that they don't
extension?
take it to their board until October or November.
Okay.
I forget the date. So they have certain executive committee dates that they have their meetings. So that even their deadline is well ahead of their meeting on this.
Just for clarification, so you had a conversation and you were asking for additional time?
I was just,
So
that was,
present it today and then
Right.
give us next month to make a decision, and then they were in support of that.
yeah,
Okay.
yes. Mhm.
Okay, for this to be
Madam Chair.
necessary now, is the purpose that you will start things that you wouldn't be able to start if you waited till their vote in November?
Well, in order to submit the application, we need to have the school board support, sign on the application,
Okay.
and not just from our school
Okay,
district,
all
but
right.
all
I
of the school
understand
districts.
that. Makes sense. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I would just say, I think, given the fact that Jackson is going to, is taking the lead on this as the lead sponsor or
As the
whatever,
primary. Mhm.
as the primary, I think it makes sense for our board to, if we're going to commit to do this and allow the other, I would assume the other boards have to also engage and participate as well. So that's why I'll be voting in favor of this tonight.
You don't, okay. Okay, any more discussion? No? Okay. Are we going to vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you.
There's no further information. Board comments. Board members who would like to make a comment at this time? Can I turn your little light on? Thank you. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I appreciate Mr. Marsh's information, and I think this is so wonderful for JPS. This is just another opportunity for kids to get involved, and I'm excited about it. So thank you.
Any other board member? Any other board member comment? Keisha?
Yes. So welcome back again to another school year. I know we had some welcome backs last month, but welcome back again to this 2023-24 school year, to all our parents and teachers and staff and students and all the hard work that you all are going to do this year. That's going to make an amazing difference in the lives of all our students in our community and our world, really, because you all are the hand that rocks the cradle that rules the world. You really are. You and parents are. So welcome back. Best wishes for an amazing year to all of us in that regard. Another comment, it's important for me that this board, not even the board, but really the community, because I always like to talk to the community when I'm having my board comments. This board president, her efforts to continuously shut me down during discussion time, during the entire meetings, even creating these new rules that the board has not voted on. You all need to understand as community members that I push back on this board president because she creates rules that the board has not agreed to. She creates rules and comes up with policies that are not accurate. They're not even present, that we don't even have. She makes statements that are untrue often. and I have data to back it up, emails and et cetera. I'm going to continue to push back on this board president because with her doing this type of behavior, she's not the only one doing this type of behavior, and it is causing a huge problem in our district. While we talk about the great and amazing things that we do each day, and we're grateful for you all's work and all the stuff that you do to move our students forward each year and our community forward each year, there are some things that are very ugly that are going on in our district that have continued to be ugly in this district. And because we continue to ignore them or to overlook them or to try to shut people like me down, they just continue. It's unfortunate that this board president and this board as well consistently, sits back and allows her to do these things. But again, I'm going to keep speaking up, speaking out. I'm going to have my say. I have the questions that people who voted me in need to be answered. So I'm going to be asking those questions. I'm going to be expecting answers to them. I'm going to continue to do the job of a board member, which is to ask questions. That's actually my role. It's supposed to be asking questions. But yeah, I'm not happy about it. I'm not, it's very disrespectful. But again, I'll keep talking about it as often as I choose to, and I'll keep pushing back. So just to the community, I just want you all to know that that's what you're going to continue to get.
Thank you, Keisha.
You're welcome.
Okay, who's next? Oh, Marilyn?
So I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. Thank you for coming, teachers, the principal. Thank you so much, kids, parents. I loved it. This I love. I'm so excited about what you're doing in the school. And when I went to college back when the earth was cooling, I used to be really jealous because there are all these girls that played lacrosse in high school. And so I'm thrilled that we're going to do this. It gives kids more of an opportunity to do something good. And I just love sports. And I'm really excited about the Grow Jackson, because kids don't see where their food comes from. They go to the grocery store, and we're not really a rural community. We're not, they're not growing up on farms. So I love this whole thing because it's kind of like Michelle Obama at the White House was growing food, and kids know what's going on. So yeah, kudos. Thank you so much. Appreciate all of you.
Marilyn just volunteered as the goalie for the practice. She's always wanted to play, so put her in the goal. But no, thanks for the Dibble presentation. Dibble has some incredible energy. Just visiting last year with the 5th grade commencement and celebration. You guys do phenomenal work, and the energy from the kids and the parents in the school was contagious, and being able to be part of that and see what you guys do in the new school year is great. So shout out to my daughter who has been a great participant and viewer of tonight's meeting. That's all I have.
A couple things. The first thing. Oh, I'm sorry, Lib. I go last. You go ahead.
I'm glad to see that school is back in session because during the summer months, I really missed the presentations by the kids and the staff. And so really exciting. Dibble did great tonight. And I was glad to have him back in the meetings. I'd like to also mention something that Keisha had to say about being held back or not being able to say her piece. And I think that everybody should have the time to say what they need to say in order for us to work effectively.
Thank you. Two things I want to say. One of the things I asked last time or the time before is for board members to please adopt a school. So please give that some thought and let me know. And that simply means you let a school know if they have any questions, they can contact you, that you make your presence as a board member known at some of the bigger activities so parents know who's there and who they can talk to. And it gives a little bit of a face to a name and a face to a position. I have two people, me and Lib, who have our schools, and I would really, really like you to consider adopting a school. And the final thing I have to say, and I normally don't do this, but I'm going to run it anyways. when I was elected president, I was asked if I would get things on track with protocols. And our parliamentary procedure that we follow is Robert's Rules of Order. And unless there's a violation of state law or a board policy has altered that for some reason that was unique to our district, then it would be. But if you have any questions about anything I say, please feel free to just look on your internet or one of those little skinny books, those Robert's Rules of Order. It's big. Just so that you know where, well, I'm coming from and what I'm trying to do here as president of this group. Thank you. Okay, let's go to our calendar. This is always fun. Friday night is the homecoming parade and the homecoming stuff, the game. It's also the alumni basketball game at 5 o'clock in the JHS Fieldhouse. September 22nd, homecoming parade, line up at 5:15 behind Walmart. Now, I don't know if any of you are with a group from a school or if you've done a float or what you have done, but 5:15 behind Walmart. Our next regular board meeting is at 5:30, October 17th, right here in the Media Center. Okay. Thank you again for coming. I will entertain a motion.
Support.
You always jump on that.
I just have one thing that we forgot to mention, and then we
yeah.
just wanted to thank the community for the work on the Pink Viking game last weekend. This is a huge event for us and very emotional and very touching for so many, and really a great cause. And I just wanted to thank everybody who was a big part of that. It was a great event and really went well, and I just wanted to make sure that we did say thank you to our community for that.
Thank you. I opened the paper on Sunday and there was a nice layout of our Pink Viking game. That's meant so much to the people who have lost a loved one struggling with it or personally are very supportive of the cause. So, okay. Any discussion? Okay. For adjourning. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. And thank you for coming again.